Donald Trump is now arresting a federal judge who disagrees with his immigration policy. Not only is this illegal, but it's happening at the same time that Donald Trump is defying a 9-0 court order. The law. It is at the same time that he's disappearing people without due process, a violation of the Constitution, a violation of the law. Make no mistake, Donald Trump is breaking the law at the same time that he's breaking the law further by arresting federal judges. This is a complete and utter meltdown of the checks and balances that protect us from being an authoritarian regime. Now is the time, America!
There was a tweet 2 weeks ago when all this started by Nick Carter that I retweeted because I thought it was really interesting, which was, if you think a market sell-off delegitimizes Trump's presidency, you're going to give him unconditional credit when it rallies, right? Because those are the rules now. And that's exactly what's happened, is that the market has rallied. Like you said, it's up 7% this week, but the media doesn't want to give Trump any credit for it. So it's kind of created this narrative of a Besson put. In other words, Besson is entirely responsible for it. Look, Scott is a very smart man. He understands markets. He understands the bond markets, and he is a reassuring voice to those markets. And I think he's doing a great job. But I think part of what's going on with this Besson put narrative is that no one ever wants to give Trump or his administration as a whole credit. So what they do in any particular week is valorize a particular member of the administration that they can then say, well, this is the person who's really responsible for this, not Trump, because I don't want to give Trump that credit. Next week, they'll be tearing Scott down, and there'll be some other member of the administration they'll be trying to valorize to basically prevent the administration as a whole from getting credit for doing something good. So again, I think Scott's doing a great job. I think he's doing a great job making these deals, and he's saying a lot of correct and reassuring things to the markets. But I think if the media is going to tear Trump down every time the market goes down, you have to give him credit when the market goes back up. And I think there's just a general reluctance to do that.
I'm going to be completely real. So first off,
says the man sitting on stage pretending to be a woman in a situation where I never thought I'd have to say this, but ma'am, your dick is showing. Like, how can you sit here and lie to people and say you're going to be completely real when in essence you're living a lie? You are completely fake. Whew, man, we got a long road ahead of us, folks.
if articles of impeachment were filed in the House right now, they would go nowhere. They wouldn't even get a hearing. There would be no conversation about it. There wouldn't be a hearing on it. There would not be a dialogue in a formal matter, in a formal way in the House.
There's this individual case of this judge. There's also potentially the intimidation factor towards all judges, right? That this has an effect on trying to scare and intimidate judges into not ruling against Trump or otherwise acceding to Trump and the Trump administration's demands. When you say we must do whatever we can to defend the independent judiciary in America, what do you think that we should do? We've seen people instantly and spontaneously react by going to the courthouses, by going to the streets to protest. Do you think that matters, and what else do you think could?
Hey, how's it going, everybody? My favorite dancers. Hello, everybody.
The White House Correspondents Association is as necessary as ever. President Biden's decline and its cover-up by the people around him is a reminder that every White House, regardless of party, is capable of deception. But being truth tellers also means telling the truth about ourselves. We, myself included, missed a lot of this story. and some people trust us less because of it. We bear some responsibility for faith in the media being at such lows. I say this because acknowledging errors builds trust, and being defensive about them further erodes it. We should have done better. I believe our mission.
And I want to talk about building trust. I trust our partner chapter, and I believe our mission here is clear. I'm going to share this comment with you from Amy Barber, 347, that says, Kevin, I'm turning 62 in June, and I'll be starting my Social Security early. I'm also a disabled vet and hoping that some of those disabilities will allow me to collect Medicare early, because you can't get that until 65 unless you have some certain disabilities. And I'll be darned if I can find them listed anywhere. So screw it. I'm just going to call chapter. Thank you. I've been looking at that bubble for days now. I finally put it in my phone. And, this is actually pretty interesting, because I think that, like, scientifically or psychologically, it takes like up to like 7 times of repetitive action for your brain to actually really remember something. But all I want you guys to remember is this: calling chapter is free. The free Medicare consultation from experts with our partner is exactly what the goal here is, folks, for free Medicare help to answer questions of something that is inherently just created to be extremely difficult and hard to understand. Whether you're 65 or, in this case, 62, why not call for free and get the help that you need? The number's on the screen, 270-467-2426. And I'm going to keep that banner up for as long as I can possibly keep it up to help as many people as we possibly can, and adding to the growing number that have already received huge help by calling chapter for free, 270-467-2426 for their free Medicare help and free Medicare consultation.
Well, absolutely. I mean, everybody who aspires and attains to public office in America, regardless of which branch they're in, is just a servant of the people, and the people need to manifest their outrage about these assaults on judicial independence. The first branch of government, the legislative branch, Congress, must do the same thing. We must reject all of these attacks on individual judges, some of which have led online to violent threats and death threats. There was a bomb threat made against Justice Amy Coney Barrett's sister. And there have been lots of threats made against judges, but we've got to defend them against that, and we've got to defend them against impeachment. There have only been 15 federal judges impeached in our entire history, always for corruption charges like bribery or tax evasion, never because somebody in the government disagrees with the content of their opinion. As Chief Justice Roberts said just a few weeks ago, the proper response to disagreement with district court's opinion is to appeal the opinion, not to impeach the judge. So there's this constant vilification and demonizing of the judges that we've got to turn around. And obviously, arresting a county court judge in Wisconsin is a dramatic escalation of these tactics.
A dramatic escalation, and one I think that will escalate the kind of response that they get as well. I think that it was a shock to the system, I think, when people saw those headlines today.
To be honest, of course, the time was a month ago, 2 months ago, 3 months ago, last November. But now, if you are not feeling with fervor the desire to defend your country, to defend the promise of what you can be, then you are no longer part of this American experiment. Call your senators, call your reps, knock on their doors at their offices, and only one word should be on our lips: impeach!
So I agree with Kevin. The American dream is believing that you live in a country where if you achieve the status that you want to achieve so that you're not struggling or that you are filthy rich, that some politician is not going to come along and try to take it away from you and tell you you're the enemy. That's her program. If you made it, if you worked hard and you have talent, she says you're corrupt and you're the enemy. And that's why I think Kevin's right. It's not going to fly.
AOC has done nothing meaningful in Congress. She's done it all on social media. And she's one of your leading names in who's going to be president? Do you not get this concept of 80-20? She's an 80-20 loser all day long. Why? She is clearly catering to a minority. She's her own version of MAGA. She's looking for an outraged enclave. She's not about the majority. She's not about consensus. She's not about solutions. She wants government to give you everything. She's a socialist in a capitalist society. What are you thinking?
One of the reasons Donald Trump's base gives him space is because they, like a lot of people say, the country's not working for me. Right. And they're giving him time because they're saying his plan might not work, but at least there's a plan. And Cory Booker did stand up, but they've yet to say, well, here's what we're going to offer.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's the only thing, because it was at least understandable. I don't care who you are. Most people would understand. I wouldn't stand in the line for 25 hours to get a Star Wars movie, right? Like, people understood. It was like, okay, this is.
I definitely wouldn't do that.
Even I wouldn't, right? And I'm into that stuff. But the Democrats as a whole, they don't have a message. Hakeem Jeffries doesn't have a message. Chuck Schumer doesn't have a message. I expected this from the Republican Party. I knew this is the kind of stuff they were going to do. What I'm shocked by is that the only people who seem to be talking are Bernie and AOC running around the country. And trust me, I went to their rally in Los Angeles. They're still making the same mistakes they always did, which is a crowd in downtown Los Angeles that still doesn't look any more diverse than downtown Wisconsin. That's the issue. So the first 100 days, Democrats still failing, Republicans doing what I expect.
Okay. And do you know what AOC could never do? This. Ben Swan posted how President Trump made a total power move here. Zelensky attempts to meet with Trump at St. Peter's Basilica, but wanted President Macron there as well. 3 chairs were set up when Trump arrived. Then he tells Macron to leave and that he'll meet with Zelensky one-on-one. This is how you end the war, folks. Cut out those who want to keep it prolonged and deal with Zelensky and Putin directly. Look at the little guy getting a stern talking to before he is put in timeout.
We have to fight hard, and we have to fight smart. I believe this president has violated the law and violated the Constitution. We have to convince the rest of this country, we have to convince more people in this country, not just that this president is doing a bad job, which we are doing, and we are doing successfully, but we have to convince people that him violating the law and the Constitution matters and requires urgent action. I doubt that the public is with us at this point on that issue yet. And so even if power was different in the House, even if power was different in the Senate, and you would need a massive supermajority, we would need more than 4 Republicans, more than a bare majority in the Senate to remove him from office through that constitutional process. The reality is that the public is with us because even as the most impeached man in American history, that didn't stop him. And so I think we've got to make sure that we are educating the public about the consequences of this president's actions, not just in their daily lives, but why it matters when he violates due process.
So basically what this man is saying is that you have to convince people to believe something that isn't true. A man sitting on stage pretending to be a woman is trying to do that on a regular basis. And the Democrats, the left, the media, everyone involved here, that is not a part of this, not a part of this team, this unified front of common sense and American patriotism and just everything good and wholesome and what you would want your children to grow up and aspire to maintain and grow and to improve. They're literally saying the quiet part out loud. We have to convince people to believe this false narrative. We have to, or else we'll lose.
You have people like Bill Gates saying that planting trees to deal with carbon is ridiculous. That's a ridiculous way to do it. Like, how is that ridiculous? They literally turn carbon dioxide into oxygen. It is their food. That's what the food of plants is. That's what powers the whole plant life and the way we have the symbiotic relationship with them. Like, and the more carbon dioxide is, the greener it is, which is why it's greener today on Earth than it has been in 100 years.
Sure.
These are all facts that are inconvenient to people that have a very specific, narrow window of how to approach this.
Think about that. Now, I want you guys to think about this. Think about the likelihood that that could happen, because there are so many people out there that are less informed, albeit downright freaking stupid, And I can attest to that from a variety of different angles and perspectives that I will spare you guys that chat, that conversation right now. But we did win, in theory, the election. Trump is our president, and that's great. That's all fine and good. But this fight continues on in the House. This fight continues on in the Senate. This fight continues on the daily basis. What occurs in our lives, in our neighborhoods, in our communities, whether it be the Karmelo Anthonys of the world or these judges, we should never get to a point where, or even in this instance, believe something that we know 100% to be scientifically false and incorrect, a lie, and convince people that it's the truth. No.
If he can send people to a foreign gulag without any trial, how do we know that they're not going to send an American citizen? Indeed, just yesterday we found out that they deported a 2-year-old American citizen because there was no process. If there is no process to guarantee that they are not deporting or sending off to a foreign gulag an American citizen, then that means they can send American citizens off to a foreign gulag, and there is no process to stop them, which means none of us are safe. We have to educate the public, move the public on these issues so that they demand the kind of accountability and that there is an election that results in the majorities necessary to truly hold him to account.
Let me just say, I mean, the 100 days, there's never been a president who has botched the first 100 days of his presidency more than Donald Trump has. And you don't have to take that as a subjective view. It's the view shown in scientific polling of the American public. The public is deeply, deeply, deeply against what Trump is doing. The Pew poll that came out this week, he's minus 19 points underwater in terms of his approval rating. If you ask the American people about what they feel about his handling of every single issue that you can poll on, he's underwater on every single one of them. And so he's been very radical in his first 100 days, and I think we knew that would be true, but I don't think we'd know that he would turn the American public, including a large portion of his own base, against him so quickly. The public would be willing again and again and again to go protest and say no and rise up against him, that he would fare so uniformly disastrously in court. He's just been clobbered in the court in dozens and dozens and dozens of cases already. So it's been a real, he's really flailed. It doesn't change his radicalism, but I think that's really the story of the first 100 days, is his failure and the American public saying no to him. So it's all bad for Trump in terms of the public just soundly rejecting everything he's doing, even the stuff that he says just for political effect. It's having the opposite political effect that he intends. I don't know that we have ever seen another first 100 days from any president this roundly rejected and hated by the American people. And as I said, correlation is not causation. Things happening together doesn't necessarily mean that one of those things caused the other one to happen. But on the day we've got on the front page of the New York Times, voters sour on Trump. Americans think Trump is overreaching in his use of power. On the day that is the news on Donald Trump, what does Trump do? He arrests a judge. He arrests a judge. And we're going to talk with Congressman Jamie Raskin about this in just a moment. But if you want to talk about a portrait of desperation, show me the political leader who is just flipping the table over, just pulling the pin on the grenade and rolling it into the room. Show me the elected leader who has decided to start arresting judges to see what happens.
That would be like saying, and they arrested a former president. A former president. Didn't Biden say no one's above the law? And then we find out that that's entirely untrue. Look, guys, I'm just sitting here in my backyard, my back porch, having this chat and conversation with you after scrolling through these humorous and comical attempts at misleading and misdirecting the masses and the public. I don't fall for it. But I'm just one man. What do you guys think? Do you believe what Rachel Maddow has to say? Do you believe what these Democrats are doing? Do you believe the stories that they're telling you about President Trump and the Trump administration and Scott Bessent and Elon Musk and whomever else? It's only been 100 days, right? Roughly ish. They're going to have to keep this up for quite some time. Maybe they can last maybe they have the stamina to make it the entire duration of Trump's term, but are they ready for Trump's next term? Trump 2028, right? Hey guys, if you like the video, like the video, subscribe, check out the links down below. Make sure you call Chapter for your free Medicare consultation, free Medicare help. Share this video, help it go viral, spread the word, and I look forward to seeing you guys on the next one.